What's up, my I'm about to say Facebook viewers because I have been on Facebook so much. My YouTube viewers, my subscribers, loyal fans, friends, whoever's following, man. Um, I gotta say this, being a Chicago house music veteran. If you guys didn't catch it, and I mean, it caused quite a real shitstorm in Chicago and some places in the UK and New York, where on I think it was NBC or ABC. Let me check um my phone here. ABC News um did a interview with David Guetta. Now I'm scrolling through here. I'm a fan of David Guetta's. I play his music. I play his music. I play Skrillex's music. I play Dead Mouse's music. Um, I play Coldplay. I because I'm a DJ and I'm a producer and I try and stay into the trendy things and the things that you guys like to hear and the audience and stuff like that. Um, a reporter, his name is Zachary T. I want to say his name right. Kirsch, Kiesch. Kiesch. I mean, he even got blasted on Twitter. Zachary was doing the interview, I guess, for the news station at the time, about David Guetta. And I don't think Zachary did his due diligence in getting all the background information of house music. He didn't ask a lot of the right questions. And I'm not saying that, David might have misquoted or misrepresented himself in an accidental way. It's possible. People may ride on that train to save face, or it might have been totally deliberate. But at the end of the day, to say that you brought house music to America on public television outraged the home of house music, which is Chicago. Chicago, make no damn mistake about it. I don't care what nobody says. Chicago is and always has been the original home of house music. We created it. We created house music when we were in our teens. We sat down in our basements and we created basement studios and home studios where we were in our bedrooms with 4 tracks, Tascams, and Lisa's drum machines, 808s, 909s, Lin drums, sampling units. We had some of everything working on sounds. We took the sound from our parents' music at that time, which was primarily disco and the Motown sound, soul music, and things like that. And we took edits from that and samples from that, and we started doing our own music. The music was created with also gospel roots. That's why the African American version of house music was so strong, because most of our songs preached, and we did a lot of tracky music, and we put them out on labels such as Jive and Chicago Track Records, which was one of the first house labels in Chicago that really went really big, and DJ International, another one. These were our labels. Rodney Baker's Rockin' House, records. We all were on stuff like this. Putting out music and competing against each other and going to parties. We're the ones that created the boots on the ground flyer thing. It's not new. The things that millennials and stuff are doing now, and these newer DJs is popping up that everybody worships. you're not doing anything new under the sun. This is something that we've been doing for years. You've watched a lot of the YouTube videos and documentaries about house, and so many guys have tried to pattern themselves and copy off of what we did, because I can understand, just like, people before me that inspired me or impressed me, I would get behind and do the same thing, because I was like, wow, man, if that worked for them, that could work for me too. And I did it out of respect, not just to be a copycat or to get lucrative. It was just a respect thing. When we did and created house music, we did it out of love. We did it because it was fun. We weren't thinking about the money then, which was our big mistake. Another big mistake we made was signing ourselves in the contracts that didn't take care of us, and it only took care of the labels that we were with. Yes, some of these labels were shystery labels. They were bad labels. They were bad contracts. They were bad deals. And a lot of us was just excited about getting that little bit of upfront money and just being able to go tour and play for people like you all over the world. And that was our real goal, man. That was exciting to us. And we didn't understand at the time that there was millions of dollars to be made in this, and there was millions of dollars made that we never even saw. And a lot of us got screwed out of our rights. A lot of us got screwed out of a lot of things because we didn't do our due diligence in reading our contracts or getting somebody to read them. But what do you expect from poor South Side and Southeast Side, or low end or low income families, and some middle class families that really were never exposed to this, and probably didn't at the time didn't have the finances to pay lawyers to review these things. And then at the time, it was only a couple of strong lawyers in Chicago that were entertainment lawyers that we could really reach out to. And unfortunately, they represented some of the same people we were trying to fight against, or it was always a conflict of interest. J.B. Ross being one of them. Linda being another one. I just can't think of her last name right now. But they not saying that they were bad people, but they were the only game in town, so everybody went to them. So at the end of the day, um, David Guetta did not bring house music to America. Will I stop playing David Guetta's music? No, no, I won't stop playing his music. I think he's a very talented individual, and would love to work with him one day, and even sit down and talk with him. But at the same time, we as house music people, we started the street teaming, and street teaming was like, people like, we had organizations, promotional organizations. Bad Boys was one. Gucci Promotions was another. Park Avenue Promotions was another. There were so many of them out there, doing events, for the Warehouse, the Playground, Sawyer's, all our clubs that we had back then in Chicago, the Congress. We were doing all these big parties. Mendel Bi-Level, which was a Catholic male high school on 111th Street in King Drive in Chicago, that is now Southside Prep. But we used to have some of the biggest parties at that school, you know. So boots on the ground just simply meant we would get out and we would get these big posters, and we would hang these posters on poles, and it would identify where the party was, who was playing. A lot of these posters now are worth a lot of money. If you guys got them, or some of your family members got them, take good care of them. I had a whole bunch of them from my years being in the business, and unfortunately lost them in a flood. But they are very popular posters. Google the posters on Google. Just Google them and look up house music posters from the 80s, and you'll see a lot of them. But those were the ones that we would go and hang up on light poles and things like that in the city. And then we started having poster wars where guys would come down and tear down your posters and stuff like that, or put their posters over your posters. We were the ones that started going out to different parties and events and handing out flyers talking about our parties and our DJs and what we were doing, and telling them about house music and who was playing it and when. We were the ones that took samples from disco and R&B and the Motown sound and started making our own sound with them. We were the ones that were experimenting with electronic instruments such as drum machines, samplers, and keyboards at the time, trying to develop our own sound. And once it hit Europe, it became a craze. House music blew up when it made it overseas. To clarify another thing, especially for the older house heads out here or house music lovers, the real, the founders and of this, the culture of Chicago house music, it has always been called EDM. EDM is electronic dance music, which means that anything that was made, let me tell you how the story, how it all came about. You know, when house music got popular in the early 80s in Chicago, with people like, Chippy, Larry Heard, um, Jesse Saunders, all of these guys that were doing stuff, and so many more, Farley Jack Master Funk, Keith Nunley, Marshall Jefferson, so many guys, man, that were doing things. It became Boomtown, and they were trying to get more of the music in rotation on a radio station, and the radio station really didn't consider house music real music. And then you had a lot of musicians that actually played live instruments, that played real drums, horns, violins, guitars, bass guitars, all of this. They got upset because now you had this whole new culture of people creating music, and there was no need for them. So studio musicians were starting to decline, and they would speak out and protest, talking about, oh, that's that old digital electronic music, is not real music, it's made electronically, there's no real musicians. And then the radio station started saying the same thing, that it wasn't real music, it was electronic music, and it was music that they played, and it was electronic music that they played in the dance clubs and in the nightclubs of Chicago, and we can't play it because it doesn't have any real live instrumentation. And we were putting studio musicians and musicians out of work because they were like, man, there's no need for us. I happened to use, my very first song I did was called Homeboy on Rockin' House Records, and I happened to use a real keyboard player, which was Marvin Sparks, and a real bass and guitar player, which is his name is Keith Henderson. And they're still doing the damn thing even today, and very good, talented musicians. Um, but at the end of the day, that's where it came from. And we got classified in the early 80s as electronic dance music. So now you have some guys that are veterans, such as myself, or newer DJs that came in later after us, slightly, maybe 5 or 6 years, that say, they hate the term EDM. EDM. Oh, I don't play EDM. We all play EDM. Anything that is digitally sampled, electronically made, is pretty much, and it's played in clubs and the nightclubs like that, you could pretty much say it's electronic dance music. I know there's some ballads and slow songs and hip hop songs that are made with the electronics too, and no live musicians, but they really consider what we did electronic dance music. So that is just the real truth of the matter. Um, EDM, I guess the term EDM got more popular in Europe because it was, they were looking at it as house music because it was classified as house music. So they started calling it EDM because it was house music. They were playing off of the fact that years ago when the whole thing came out that what we were doing was considered electronic dance music, and then they liked what we were doing, and the Europeans put their twist on it. Now it became, electronic dance music for them, and it fell under the house music category because it had a lot of the same characteristics. The difference is with more of the Euro style, it was big build-ups and drum rolls and heavy synth sounds and all of that, as opposed to more of the Chicago style house was more soulful. It was more spiritual. It preached to you. It called you out, and everybody couldn't relate to that. And naturally other people that couldn't relate to it, they might have liked the foundation of the song, but they might have not liked the lyrical part of the song, or they may not have liked the particular bass line of the song. It might have been too smooth, it might have been too soulful, it might have been too whatever. And that's when these guys started coming with these big build-ups and the dan da da dan da da dan da da dan da da dan da da, and the high energy music. I mean, most of the music that we were making back then was between anywhere between 116 to maybe, I think at the time in the early 80s you might have found things that were around 122, 124, possibly something like that. And then now the average now is anywhere from 128 to 150. I mean, 160 sometimes. Music is playing so rapid, and it has so much high energy to it, especially in the techno world and the tech house world, and stuff like that. So, I mean, it is what it is. Music has to progress. I love it all. I like techno, house, dub, footwork music, ghetto house. I like hip house. Hip house is rap music and house music put together. I like it all. I mean, I like the energy in all the music. I like the energy of the crowds, and I like playing a diverse genre of music. But I want everybody to understand that David Guetta did not bring house music to Chicago. And, Chicagoans and the artists and the producers and a lot of people around the globe went ballistic on Twitter about this. They went ballistic on Facebook about this. People were really heated, and they felt that he owed Chicago an apology. I reached out to the reporter Zachary to see if he would like to talk to us and some of the veterans here that helped create that culture and sound. Never got back to us. Then CBS goes and they pull the story down that outraged everybody, and they changed it to David just speaking about his new album release, rather than to come back and say, "Hey guys, we'll give you a chance to speak on it, or talk about it, or let's get David involved and let's clear the whole thing up, in a civil manner." They just pulled the story and changed it and did a little editing and said, "Okay, let's just make it about his album. Let's not involve this whole Chicago thing," which I think is a whole conspiracy thing in essence. Because if you think about it this way, it's a lot of legends here that have created that sound, and people are still dancing to their music and their samples in music, and they're not millionaires. They're not like Calvin Harris or David Guetta that are making 37, 50, 70 million dollars, you know um off of music. They have not been recognized or respected totally for the things that they've done, and nobody wants to lose their history or be erased out of their history. We in Chicago created a culture, just like if you guys study Woodstock or something like that, we created a culture that changed the reputation and the name of a city. Chicago used to be known for Al Capone, the old gangster, and the blues and all of this, And then when house music came along, it was just like a fairy tale, and all of a sudden became known, Chicago, the house music capital of the world, and we were cranking out records all day long. We're getting back to the point where we're starting to do that again with the BTO movement, the Music Alliance Festival, um, PMG1 Records, Steve Poindexter's record label. It's so many labels out here now that are starting to emerge again and crank out music, vinyl and CDs and all this good stuff. So, I would be getting a phone call right now, but we're gonna ignore that. But anyway, I wanted to put all of this out to you guys, man, and I want you guys to definitely like and subscribe and follow, man, if you guys are feeling what I'm talking about. I know a lot of you guys are watching the video, but you're not liking or subscribing or commenting. You're spying, you're watching, but you're not communicating. But that's okay. I'm gonna keep doing them. In a few weeks, I'll be getting back into doing projects, music projects and stuff like that, where I'll be involving you guys, and you can watch me use the DAWs, like Studio One, which is Presonus, Ableton, MPC, Akai Professional. I'll be using all these different things, the machine, and showing you how I make tracks and maybe help some of you guys, to learn how to maneuver these things and kind of do it in a layman's terms, basic, where, you watch a lot of these videos and these guys are, doing the quick shortcuts and this and that, and they're trying to explain it to you the best way they can. And it's understandable, but I'm just going to explain it to you just like I'm talking to you. Hey, you take this part, move it here, put it here, you cut this, you do that. I'll break it down like that because everybody learns a different way. But those of you who learn more on the technical way, I recommend you watch those videos. Those of you all who need kind of hey, I just want to sit next to you, buddy, and just tell me how to do this kind of thing, I'm probably that guy for you. So definitely subscribe and stay with me so you don't get, you don't miss these things. We will be, now I see that it is a need. I said in my last videos that I was going to bring some of the veterans in and we were going to have this big conversation about Chicago house music and who did what and when it was done. Some of the guys, man, who created this whole thing from day one, the parties, the events, some of the producers, the DJs, some of the recording artists. We're all going to get together here and give you our story. A story that, people have been trying to erase, and make it about them since they have money and they have big major labels backing them and all of this stuff. And they're trying to make us disappear to the point where, oh, we didn't exist. And nobody wants to be erased out of their history. Nobody wants, things taken from them that they worked hard for from the ground up. Picture you having a child that you love and you nurtured all your life, and somebody takes it from you in its prime and says, "Yeah, I'm the one that raised it and took care of it and did everything," and you're like, "No, that's a lie. I'm the mom. I'm the dad. I did it." And there's people out there that know that and won't speak up on your behalf, and there's people out there that know that and won't support you in helping you to get your child back or anything. And not only that, the person that has your child has found a way now to capitalize and make money off of your child while you're sitting home missing your child and the thing you raised and being denounced from it and all of this. And now you're also broke and people are not even allowing you to make a living and do all this. Picture having all of that stripped from you. Well, that's how a lot of these guys feel in Chicago. Not saying that any of these guys that are mainstream DJs right now, producers that everybody's so in love with and stuff like that, that they are not deserving of their monies. But I mean, at the end of the day, we worked hard too, and we deserve ours, and we've been cut out of a lot of ours, and we don't think that's fair. And we're not saying that David Guetta, Steve Akio, or Calvin Harris or Dead Mouse or anybody owes us any money or they need to give us this or that. What we're saying is we would like our place to be recognized in the game and be financially rewarded for it just like they are. You're using our backgrounds, our sounds, and I mean, and I know a lot of the newer guys are creating their own sounds and stuff like that. Some guys are using, sample sounds that come in packs, and they work on them and twist them and bend them to create their own sound. But a lot of the foundation comes from the originators, the house music, the real house music, the 4/4 time, that that boom boom boom, that comes from us. Larry Heard is the master of that. Larry Heard, I could say, birthed the house nation. Really, he did with his sound. Then came possibly Jesse Saunders and Chippy and so on. But that's even argumentative in the whole house community, and that's another reason why we fell into a decline, is because so many guys started fighting each other, crab in the barrel thing, where everybody was trying to get to the top of this thing, and we didn't realize at the time that doing that, we were destroying each other. We were destroying our opportunity to grow. And while it's kind of that old saying, um, you toss the guard dogs a bunch of meat and bones, and they start to eat it and fight over it. And while they're doing that, you walk around them and you go rob the house. You go take everything out of the house. And by the time the dogs got through fighting over the scraps and everything that you threw in front of them, when they look back and they go like, oh man, the very thing that we were protecting now is gone. What happened? Well, what happened was we were given enough at the time to distract us for everything that was big, that was for us, got taken away from us, is basically what that's saying. So we are at fault as well. So we're not blaming any of these other guys for their successes and anything like that. But we're also urging, don't claim something that is not yours. Don't take something that is not yours. And if you guys are going to start doing interviews and YouTube documentaries and all this stuff, please do your research. Please do your research. We know it's new generations of kids and youth coming out, and they're developing with their own heroes and their own legends and all of that they look up to, and they're not really into the old school or where the old school came from. But history is very important, whether people want to admit it or not. History plays a big role in what happens in the future. you know, we as DJs now, we can do all the old school stuff and we can do all the new school stuff. We're still doing the new school stuff. So at the end of the day, if all the new school stuff fell off, we can go to the old school stuff and we can continue to keep making music. You understand what I'm saying? So these are the things that we try and get millennials and youth to understand today. We're not hating, but we want our piece of the pie just like anybody else. We work for it, and that piece of the pie, that crust, and 90% of the filling came from us, and everybody's enjoying all the toppings on top of it, which is the EDM, if you guys want to keep using that term, and the techno and the tech house and all that, that everybody loves today, in the club music. That's all the toppings, but everything else, the foundation and the fillings and all of that, that came from us. So, it's not a complete cake with all of those elements put together. So everybody should be able to eat off the cake. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm just putting that out there. Again, no hatred to David Guetta and not even to Zachary, the reporter. I just feel like Zachary should have did a better job of interviewing. If you guys can search that and find the David Guetta interview with Zachary, I think on ABC, man, try and find it. But we tried to repost it again, and they just changed it and edited it, so you probably won't get a chance to see that original video. Some people might have it and kept it. The art is it's all types of stuff that was trending on Zachary's Twitter about it. I mean, they came in hard on his ass about it on Twitter to the point where he stopped accepting posts and inboxes. Um, people found him on Facebook, and then they came at David himself, called him a liar and a fraud. And man, all the emojis and jokes they've been cracking on David since that interview has been like really nuts. But man, stay with me, follow, subscribe. I'm out of here. What I got to do now, I got to get out here and start planning festivals for next year. That's what I'm getting ready to do right now, and go to some meetings. So, much love to everybody. Please like and subscribe and share. Don't just spy on the channel, support the channel, man. And I'll keep doing more and more stuff. I'm going to continue to do it anyway. So, stay with me. All right. Bye.